You ever have a secret place? Somewhere no one knows about but you? Somewhere you can go when the world gets too loud, too fast, too everything? I do. Or, well, I did. It was this hidden little cove near the edge of Clearwater Beach, past the lifeguard stations and the tourist crowds, past the tiki bars and the rows of beach houses with their fake nautical decorations and string lights. If you knew where to squeeze through the dunes, past the thorny brush and between the rocks, you'd find it. A narrow stretch of sand wrapped in cliffs where the tide whispered secrets only I could hear. That was my place, mine in the moons. That night, I'll never forget it. It was supposed to be quiet, peaceful. I needed it after the week I had. School drama, fights at home, and that feeling that no one really gets you. I took my sketchbook, a flashlight, and snuck out after midnight like I'd done 100 times before. It was cool, but not cold. The kind of night where the sky felt closer than usual. The moon was full, high above like a watchful eye. I could hear the waves long before I saw them, and when I stepped onto the sand, it felt like coming home. I sat on my favorite rock, right where the tide didn't reach, opened my sketchbook, started drawing the reflection of the moon on the water. I was completely lost in the lines, the light, the hush of everything around me, until I heard it. A scream. Sharp, sudden, real. It wasn't a seagull, it wasn't the wind. My whole body locked. Then came the voices, 2 of them. Low, urgent, male. I dropped flat behind the rock and turned off my flashlight. My heart was pounding in my ears. I peeked over the edge, careful. So careful. That's when I saw her. Lying in the surf. Still, a white dress clinging to her body, face down, dead. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I couldn't even blink. I was frozen. One of the voices closer now said, "We shouldn't have done it here." The other answered, "Too late now. Let's go." They were just shadows, moving fast. They didn't see me. When they were gone, I waited. 10 minutes? 20? I don't know. Time stopped existing. Then I moved. I crept toward her, my steps silent in the sand. The tide was already tugging at her, like the ocean was trying to hide what had happened. Her hair floated around her like seaweed. I wanted to turn her over, to see her face, but I couldn't. I was too scared. Instead, I saw something glint in the water beside her hand. A necklace. Silver, with a broken clasp. I picked it up carefully, wrapping it in a tissue from my hoodie pocket. The pendant had an engraving, J+D, forever. And that's when I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to the police. Who would believe a 13-year-old girl out alone at midnight? They'd ask questions I couldn't answer. So I decided to find out the truth myself. Clues in the sand. I didn't sleep that night. My brain was buzzing, spinning, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. By sunrise, I was back at the cove. My steps were shaky, my heart in my throat. But she was gone. The body, the shadows, the silence. It was like it never happened, except footprints. 2 sets, one larger, one smaller, both leading up the cliff path, and blood. Faint, already drying, but still there on a flat patch of sand. I took photos with my phone, careful not to step on anything important. Then I followed the prints up the trail, heart thumping with every step. They vanished near the road, probably where a car had been parked. Back home, I searched everything I could, missing persons reports, news articles, social media, nothing about a murder on Clearwater Beach. Nothing about a girl in a white dress. It was like the world had forgotten her. But I hadn't. I couldn't. That night, I locked myself in my room and pulled out the necklace again. I studied every curve of the metal, every letter engraved in it. J+D. Jackson and Danica? Who were they? Why would someone want to kill them? And what had I really seen? The next 2 days passed in a haze. I kept going back to the beach, hoping to see something. Anything. But the waves gave no answers. The footprints had washed away. The blood had dried up. That's when I saw her. Not the girl from the water. Her friend. She was older than me, maybe 16 or 17. Blonde, pale, sitting alone near the lifeguard stand every day after school. She stared at the water like she was waiting for someone who was never coming back. I watched her from a distance. At first, then I got closer. She was talking to herself, or praying, I couldn't tell. One day I sat on the sand nearby, close enough to hear. She whispered one word, Jackson. J. My heart jumped. I reached into my hoodie pocket where I'd kept the necklace ever since. J+D. Forever. I had a lead, but I wasn't the only one watching her. I first noticed him that Thursday afternoon, sitting on a bench up by the boardwalk, green baseball cap, dark glasses, reading the same page of a book over and over. Not once did he look down at it. He was watching the girl, just like I was. But his eyes were wrong, too focused. Too interested. That night, I had a dream. The girl in the white dress floated in the waves, whispering my name. When I reached for her, she turned to sand in my hands. I woke up sweating. Determined. I followed the girl at a distance. She walked the beach like it was a ritual. She touched a certain rock. She stopped at a dune with a lone palm. She dug a little in the sand. Nothing there. But I remembered those places. They were near where the body had been. That night, I couldn't stay quiet any longer. I had to talk to her. I waited until she was alone, sitting on the driftwood log she always claimed. I walked up, acting like I wasn't shaking inside. "Hey," I said. "Are you okay?" She didn't look at me. "I saw you here yesterday, and the day before." Still nothing. I took a deep breath and said, "Did you know someone named Jackson?" That got her attention. Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide. "Who are you?" she demanded. I found something. By the water." I pulled out the necklace, keeping it half hidden in my palm. Her breath caught. "That was hers," she whispered. "Danica." "Jackson and Danica?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "They were in love. Stupid, secret love." "Were?" She looked at me, tears building. "They're both dead." My skin went cold. And then behind us a shadow moved, the man in the green hat, watching. Still. After that day on the beach, everything changed. I had confirmation, names, a connection. But I also had a threat. The man in the green hat hadn't spoken. He didn't have to. The way he stood there, still and focused, it said everything. Elara, that's what she said her name was, wasn't just some random girl mourning her friends. She knew things. Things I needed to know. We didn't talk again on the beach. We just looked at each other. And then we ran. Separately. I didn't go straight home. I rode my bike in circles around the neighborhood until my legs felt like jelly. I needed to make sure I wasn't followed. That man, he'd seen us together. That meant we were both targets now. That night, Elara messaged me from an anonymous number. Just one line. "Meet me at the old pier at 7:30 a.m. Come alone." The sun had barely risen when I got to the pier. It creaked under my sneakers, each step sounding like a warning. Elara was already there, sitting on the edge with a manila folder clutched in her hands like it was a lifeline. Without a word, she handed it to me. Inside were photos, old-school records, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, and in the center, a photo of Danica and Jackson. They looked so happy, so alive. Not like the girl I saw in the waves. "They were going to run away," Elara whispered. "They knew something. Something they weren't supposed to." "What?" I asked. She hesitated. "Something about the old marine lab." I knew the one. Everyone in Clearwater did. It had been shut down for years. Rumors said it was toxic, that the government had stepped in. That something happened there nobody wanted to talk about. Elara continued. "Jackson told Danica he found something. Files. A folder labeled Neptune Protocol. They were planning to leak it. Then they vanished." Vanished. My chest felt heavy. I saw Danica. She hadn't vanished, she'd been erased. "I have one more thing," Elara said, digging into her jacket pocket. It was an old MP3 player. She handed me a pair of earbuds. "This is Danica. She recorded it the night before she disappeared." I pressed play. The voice was crackly but clear. "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. We found something. Files, recordings from the lab. Mr. Calhoun was part of it. He knows. He saw us. If they come for me, tell Elara to run. Tell her." Static. I sat there frozen, the ocean roaring behind me. "Mr. Calhoun?" I asked. "Like our science teacher?" Elara nodded. "He used to work at the lab. Before it shut down, he said it was just marine biology. But that was a lie." "What was it really?" "No idea. But whatever it was, it got Danica killed." We returned to the cove together. Elara hadn't been there since the night they vanished. She stood at the edge of the rocks, hugging herself like the waves might swallow her too. We searched. Carefully. Every inch. That's when I found the notebook. It was buried beneath the driftwood log, wrapped in a Ziploc bag. A waterproof journal. The first page was smeared but legible. "If anything happens to us, the truth is here. They can't erase everything." There were sketches of symbols, maps of the beach, coordinates marked in red. One circled spot stood out. "The old buoy," I whispered. Elara's eyes widened. "It's still out there." We both looked at the horizon. The buoy bobbed far out in the water, rusted, half forgotten. "Jackson said they hid something inside it." she said. A waterproof drive. We needed to get it. We couldn't do it during the day. Too risky. So we waited until night. Full wetsuits, flashlights, waterproof phone cases. We swam out, hearts pounding with each stroke. The water was colder than I expected. Deeper, darker. When we reached the buoy, Elara pulled out a small waterproof toolkit. She unscrewed the hatch while I held the light. Inside was a sealed cylinder, and inside that, a flash drive, wrapped in tinfoil. We didn't cheer, we didn't celebrate. We swam back in silence, afraid of what we had just done. We plugged it into Elara's laptop. It took a minute to decrypt. Then the screen filled with files, videos, audio logs, scanned documents. One video started automatically. A lab room. Calhoun, younger, talking into a camera. Subject 47 is adapting faster than anticipated. The experiment will proceed under the Neptune Protocol Phase 3. Another file, a memo. In the event of exposure, erase all involved personnel. No survivors, no witnesses. And then another. Potential witnesses identified: Jackson Keller, Danica Moore. Surveillance to begin immediately. My breath caught. They were being hunted, just like us. The next day, Elara's house was broken into. Nothing stolen, just searched. That night, we saw the Green Hat Man again, sitting in a car down the street, watching. We packed our things, took everything, moved to my uncle's lake house without telling anyone. We knew what we had to do. Expose it. We created a burner blog, a fake Reddit account, a Dropbox full of everything: the audio, the drive, the journal, the necklace, the map, the files. We clicked publish, and the world noticed. News stations picked it up. Online conspiracy forums exploded. Hashtags trended. The government denied everything. The lab never existed. Calhoun had no comment. But people were watching now, asking questions, digging. Elara and I stayed underground. For now. But we're not done. We promised Danica. We won't stop until everyone knows the truth. It was barely past sunrise when the knock came. 3 slow raps on the wooden door of the lake house. I froze mid-step on the stairs, holding my breath. Elara was still asleep on the couch, tangled in a blanket. I watched the door like it might explode. Another knock. Louder this time. I crept to the window beside the front entrance and peeked through the curtain. No one. But something was on the porch. An envelope. I opened the door cautiously and snatched it up, retreating fast. My hands trembled as I peeled it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Meet me at the lab ruins. Come alone. Midnight. Danica? I shook Elara awake. Danica's dead, she said groggily. I handed her the note. Her eyes widened. Or someone wants us to think she's not. We debated all day. It could be a trap, but it could also be the truth. If Danica somehow survived. Midnight came fast. The old marine lab stood at the edge of town, shrouded in mist. Most of the roof had caved in. Vines curled around rusted steel beams. Elara and I moved carefully, our flashlights sweeping over shadows. No one. Just silence, until a footstep echoed behind us. We spun around. A girl stepped out of the dark. Soaking wet. Dripping, like she had just emerged from the ocean. It was Danica, or someone who looked exactly like her. Elara, she said, her voice hoarse. You brought her. What is this? I whispered. Danica looked at me, sorrow in her eyes. They tried to erase me. I escaped. Barely. But I couldn't come back until I had proof. Elara clutched my hand. We leaked everything. Danica nodded. Good. But it's not enough. The files? That was phase 1. The real project? It's still happening. Out there. Underwater. She pointed to a hatch in the corner of the room. A steel trapdoor with a faded biohazard sign. We opened it. A ladder led down into blackness. Danica climbed first, then Elara. I hesitated, then followed. It felt like we were descending forever. The air was damp, the walls slick. Finally, we reached a tunnel, lit by flickering emergency lights. This was the original Neptune site, Danica said. They tested biomodifications here, human enhancements. We walked deeper. On the walls were sealed chambers, glass tanks. In one, a figure floated, eyes closed, tubes in its mouth. It looked human, but distorted. Webbed fingers, gills. Oh my God, Elara whispered. They called them adaptives, Danica said. The government wanted soldiers who could survive underwater. Jackson and I found out. We tried to stop it. What happened to Jackson? I asked. She didn't answer, but her silence said enough. A door slammed shut above us. Red lights blinked. Then, footsteps. Run, Danica shouted. We bolted down a side tunnel as shouts echoed behind us. Boots on metal. Gun clicks. Elara pulled me into a maintenance shaft. We crawled through, panting. When we emerged, we were in a lab full of monitors. security feeds, underwater drones. Danica pulled a keycard from her pocket and inserted it into the main console. Files exploded onto the screen: blueprints, DNA scans, test subjects, names. Download everything, Elara yelled. I plugged in our backup drive. Alarms blared. They're coming, Danica said. We have to flood the system. Make it public again. No more hiding. We hit upload. A countdown started. 60 seconds. We made it to the emergency tunnel just as they burst into the lab. Shots fired. A bullet skimmed the wall beside my head. We ran. Behind us the tunnel shook. A pipe burst. Water gushed. They're trying to collapse the facility, Elara shouted. We reached a submarine dock. Danica jumped into a mini-sub. Come on. We piled in. She hit the ignition. The last thing I saw before we dove was the lab flooding behind us. We emerged a mile off the coast. The sun was rising. Danica, soaking wet again, smiled faintly. We did it. Our phones lit up. Messages, news, notifications. Neptune Protocol was global. Congressional hearings, investigations, arrests. Calhoun vanished. So did the man in the green hat. But the world now knew. 1 year later. I'm still 13, but I've seen more than most people will in their whole lives. Elara moved to Washington, helping investigators full-time. Danica stayed in hiding, her DNA still marked. She's not exactly human anymore. But she's alive. We still talk. Sometimes I go back to the beach, to my secret spot, and I listen. Because sometimes when the moonlight hits the water just right, I can hear the ocean whispering secrets. And I'll never stop listening.